Sermon script: The Fall of Adam and Eve. Temptation and God's Judgment. Genesis 3. Introduction. My brothers and sisters, today we turn to one of the most powerful and foundational stories in Scripture, the fall of Adam and Eve. This is not just an ancient story, it is our story. It is the story of temptation, of human failure, but also of God's unshakable grace. The perfection of Eden. In the beginning, the world was perfect. There was no pain, no fear, no shame. Adam and Eve walked in the presence of God in the Garden of Eden, a paradise beyond imagination. Everything they needed was provided, and God gave them one command. You may eat freely from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you will surely die. Now, why did God give this command? Because love requires choice. He gave them free will to trust Him or to turn away, and for a time they obeyed. The serpent's deception. But then came the tempter, the enemy of our souls. The serpent slithered into the garden and whispered to Eve, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" That question alone was enough to plant doubt in her heart, and she answered, "We may eat from any tree, but God said, 'Do not eat from the tree in the middle of the garden, or you will die.'" And here came the great lie, the same lie the enemy still whispers to us today. You will not surely die. God knows that when you eat it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like Him, knowing good and evil. Eve looked at the fruit. It was pleasing to the eye, desirable for gaining wisdom. She reached out, took a bite, and gave some to Adam. He ate too. In that moment, everything changed. Innocence was lost. The consequence of sin. Suddenly, shame filled their hearts. They realized they were naked and covered themselves with fig leaves. They heard the sound of the Lord walking in the garden, and for the first time, they hid. Then came the question that still echoes through history. God called out, "Adam, where are you?" Adam answered, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And God asked, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam pointed to Eve. Eve pointed to the serpent. And so the blame began, and the consequences followed. The serpent was cursed to crawl on its belly forever. Eve was told she would suffer pain in childbirth. Adam would labor and toil for his food, and one day return to the dust. But the worst consequence of all, they were cast out of the garden, separated from the presence of God, and an angel with a flaming sword was placed at the entrance, ensuring they could never return. The promise of redemption. Yet even in judgment, God's grace was present. He made garments of skin for them, covering their nakedness, a sign that their own efforts, fig leaves, were not enough to cover their sin. Only God could provide true covering. And more importantly, God gave a promise. In Genesis 3:15, He declared that one day the offspring of the woman would crush the serpent's head. This was the first prophecy of Jesus Christ, the one who would come to redeem us all.